Hello, Radiant Leo. Are you ready? Because something powerful is already in motion, and what's coming could shake the very foundation of your life. But don't panic, because what follows could be the greatest breakthrough you've ever known. Welcome to Eternal Mindfulness, where we don't just read horoscopes. We awaken your deeper self through astrology, cosmic energy, and soul wisdom. You didn't find this video by chance. Something bigger, something written in your stars, brought you here at the exact moment you needed to hear this. And today, Leo, it's not just another daily message. This is a cosmic alert. A rare portal has opened, one that only appears every 12 years. And it is aligning with your sign in ways that will touch the deepest part of your identity. This moment has the potential to uproot you, emotionally, spiritually, and even physically, and yet it also holds the power to place you exactly where your soul has always longed to be. Have you been feeling it? The restlessness, the strange dreams, the tension in your chest, the urge to break free from something, even if you can't quite name it? That's not your imagination. That's your inner lion stirring, waking up to the energy of transformation. And this reading is your guide through that fire. Today's message is not just a prediction. It's a mirror, reflecting your next chapter. Yes, you may feel unsteady. You may even face a sudden disruption, in love, in career, in your finances, or within yourself. But make no mistake, this isn't punishment. It's initiation. Let's pause for a moment. Before we go further, let me take this opportunity to thank you. Your presence here, your likes, your shares, your beautiful comments, they mean more than words. Each time you connect with this channel, you help expand Eternal Mindfulness into something far beyond a YouTube page. You help build a community of conscious creators, walking through fire together, and rising higher. So thank you, truly, from the heart. Your support allows these soul-shifting messages to reach more people, and it keeps this light flowing. And trust me, dear Leo, you will want to stay with me until the very last second of this video. Because what the universe is about to reveal is breathtaking. It's intimate. And it's meant for you. So now tell me. What did your soul do? What vibration did you send out, that brought you to this exact reading today? Because the fire that's coming, it's not here to destroy you. It's here to burn away what you've outgrown, so that the real you can finally rise. Let's begin. When we speak of fire in astrology, especially with Leo, the sign ruled by the sun, we're not talking about destruction for the sake of loss. We're talking about illumination, refinement, and the sacred process of burning away what no longer serves. This phase you're entering isn't about chaos, it's about clarity. And that clarity often arrives disguised as disruption. When fixed stars align in this rare 12-year configuration, something ancient awakens. In your chart, it strikes the very part of you that holds on tightly, your identity, your pride, your sense of purpose. That's why it feels so visceral. So personal. You may sense that you're no longer who you used to be, and yet not quite who you're becoming. That's the in-between space. And it's sacred. In certain philosophical traditions, this space is known as the middle path, not the past, not yet the future. It is the present moment, where clarity can arise if we're willing to stay with the discomfort without escaping it. When you notice a crack in your daily patterns, or when something you relied on suddenly collapses, don't rush to fix it. Instead, observe. Breathe. What if this isn't something going wrong, but rather something falling into place? The tower doesn't destroy randomly. It strikes where the foundation was never solid to begin with, perhaps a belief about who you had to be in order to be loved, or a job that never truly honored your creative fire, or a role you took on just to please others. When that tower falls, what's left is the raw truth. The core of you that doesn't need polish, approval, or validation. Just like the phoenix that must first reduce itself to ash in order to rise, this part of your journey asks, are you willing to let go of what is familiar, even if it's no longer right? That's where the sun enters, not as comfort, but as revelation. Leo, you are ruled by the sun. Your soul craves truth, even when it's inconvenient. You don't want a half-life. You want to live fully, boldly, out loud. And the sun promises that if you allow the collapse, if you stay present through the vulnerability, you will rise more radiant than ever. Not because someone else gives you permission, but because you finally stop asking for it. And then comes the wheel of fortune. The beautiful paradox here is that your destiny is both pre-written and entirely your choice. The wheel spins, yes. But your consciousness determines how you meet its turn. Will you cling to the rim and feel tossed around by life's changes? Or will you step into the center, steady, grounded, choosing your response instead of reacting to what happens? This is why discomfort is sacred. It invites you to practice what cannot be taught: self-trust, surrender, and sovereignty. In the stillness after the tower, and in the warmth of the sun, the wheel becomes your ally. The shift you're feeling is not a breakdown. It is a breakthrough, written in your stars and confirmed by your willingness to evolve. So if your world feels like it's unraveling right now, remember, the unraveling is not punishment. It's precision. It's the universe saying, you are ready now. For something more honest. More alive. More you. And the question is not whether the fire will come. The question is, will you walk through it, or keep circling around it? Let this moment be the answer. When high-frequency energy from the universe begins to move through you, it doesn't just whisper to your spirit, it speaks directly to your body. These aren't random aches or scattered dreams. They are messages, signals, signposts along a path your mind may not yet understand but your soul already recognizes. And when it comes to Leo, a sign ruled by the power of voice, performance, and heart-centered expression, the body becomes an even more sensitive instrument of transformation. The throat, for example, is often one of the first places to respond. It's not surprising that many Leos may experience tightness, soreness, or tension in the neck, shoulders, or jaw during times of inner change. This is the area most connected to self-expression, to speaking truth, to asking for what you need, to saying what's been withheld. When you suppress your voice, whether out of fear, doubt, or habit, the energy doesn't disappear. It stores itself in the body, waiting to be released. What you're feeling isn't weakness. It's movement. A shifting of frequencies within you that's demanding alignment. And sometimes, that alignment begins with something as simple as noticing. So if you've been having vivid dreams, if you've woken up with music in your head or felt surges of emotion out of nowhere, don't brush it off. Pay attention. These are not distractions. They're direct lines of communication between your inner and outer world. Dreams, in particular, are a form of intelligence that modern life often teaches us to ignore. But they carry encoded insights, not always literal, but often symbolic, about where you're being guided and what needs your attention. A recurring symbol, a face you haven't seen in years, a place you've never been but feel you know, all of these can be mirrors. Write them down. Speak them aloud. Sing them if that feels right. The act of expression is itself a healing ritual. And then there are the numbers. If you've been seeing certain digits repeating, 3, 4, 8, 12, 22, 27, treat them like breadcrumbs. They are not arbitrary. They function like energetic signatures, nudging you toward awareness. The number 3 speaks to communication and creativity. The number 4 grounds you in structure. 8 carries the power of abundance and karmic flow. 12 and 27 often signal completion and spiritual maturation. And 22, known as the Master Builder, asks whether you're ready to construct a life aligned with your highest purpose. What makes this process even more profound is that you are not being asked to do something dramatic. You're simply being invited to listen more closely. To your dreams. To your body. To the quiet wisdom beneath your habitual thoughts. There's a principle taught in ancient traditions that says, all suffering begins when we resist what already is. In this context, resistance doesn't just mean saying no. It can also mean staying too busy to hear the whisper. Or doubting what you feel before giving it space to speak. So if you feel called, try this. Place one hand gently over your throat, close your eyes, and ask yourself, what truth within me is ready to be heard? Then be still. No need to force an answer. The point is not to solve. The point is to soften. The truth has a way of rising when given permission. And finally, tend to yourself like you would tend to someone you deeply love. Sip warm tea with honey. Hum your favorite melody. Breathe gently into the tight places. What's happening to you isn't random. It's a realignment. And it begins not with a leap, but with a deep, honest exhale. What looks like breaking is sometimes just becoming. The moment when things fall apart, a relationship unravels, a job dissolves, an identity begins to feel foreign, it rarely feels like grace in real time. It often feels like failure. Like something precious slipping through your fingers. But in cosmic timing, especially for Leo during a major energetic shift, those moments of unraveling are not setbacks. They are thresholds. And crossing a threshold requires that something stays behind. You may find yourself facing an uncomfortable decision, ending a connection that no longer supports your growth, walking away from a role that drains you, or confronting a version of yourself that once felt safe but now feels painfully small. And yet, these ruptures are not punishments, they are forms of honesty. They are life's way of removing the mask gently, so the light within can breathe again. When we hold on to what no longer fits, not out of love but out of fear, we delay the blessings that can only arrive when we are empty enough to receive them. This is not about dramatic exits or overnight epiphanies. Often, it's subtle. A shift in how you speak. A growing resistance to places that used to excite you. A deeper silence between you and someone who once felt like home. These are the signals. Not to panic, but to pause. To reflect. To ask, am I being called to release something I've outgrown? There's a saying in ancient philosophy that everything you cling to will eventually become your teacher. That lesson, when resisted, becomes suffering. But when accepted, becomes liberation. And Leo, your soul was never meant to shrink itself into a life that no longer reflects your light. You are here to expand, not just in visibility, but in truth. That expansion often comes disguised as disruption. And here's the paradox: the moment you surrender what no longer serves you, life begins to respond. Not with instant clarity, but with possibility. An unexpected offer may show up that redefines your career. A stranger may enter your orbit and feel strangely familiar, not because of some mystic spell, but because your energy has finally become a match for what you've been silently longing for. Even your own perspective may shift so dramatically that the direction you were headed in yesterday no longer feels aligned today. This is the gift of conscious release. To let go not because you've given up, but because you finally trust what's waiting. It's the quiet wisdom of knowing that emptiness is not a void to fear, but a space to welcome something more honest, more alive, more real. When you stop gripping the old, your hands become open to receive the new. And the universe doesn't leave empty hands unfilled for long. Think of the tree that sheds its leaves not because it's dying, but because it's preparing to bloom again. Letting go is an act of preparation. A sacred agreement that says, I choose peace over performance. Truth over comfort. Alignment over attachment. And from that place, you don't just survive the shift, you emerge from it as someone who finally feels at home within themselves. So if something in your life feels like it's coming undone, try not to rush to fix it. Instead, ask yourself, what is this unraveling trying to reveal? And who might I become if I chose to trust it? Because what's crumbling now may simply be the wall between you and the life you were always meant to live. When the universe begins to shift and your energy field starts resonating at a new frequency, the body often knows before the mind does. You don't need a cosmic announcement or a lightning bolt to confirm that something is changing. Sometimes, the invitation is much quieter. It arrives through subtle sensations, intuitive nudges, or even a sudden craving for simplicity. And this is where small, intentional actions become not just helpful, but powerful. They're not superficial rituals. They are gateways. They are declarations to the universe, I'm ready. I'm aligning. Eating light, for instance, isn't about restriction. It's about clarity. When you choose greens, fresh fruits, and hydrating foods over dense or overly processed meals, you're making space for your body to listen more clearly. Energy flows best through a vessel that isn't bogged down. That's why choosing nourishment that comes from the earth, food that still carries the pulse of life, helps you harmonize with cosmic movement. Especially for Leo, a fire sign, balancing that fire with water-rich, mineral-rich food can ground the flame without dulling it. Colors, too, carry frequency. Wearing or surrounding yourself with green, the color of growth, healing, and balance, helps calm the nervous system and reconnect you with what's real. Gold activates confidence, calling in success and purpose. And deep blue, rich like midnight, enhances intuition and clarity. These aren't random shades. They are visual affirmations. Each time you look at them, your subconscious remembers, you are safe to evolve, and your guidance is within. When it comes to self-care, water becomes more than cleansing, it becomes a conduit. A sea salt bath or even a foot soak with herbs is a symbolic reset. In many traditions, water is seen as the element that holds memory, that washes not just the physical body but the emotional residue we accumulate. Combined with high-frequency sound, such as solfeggio tones or ambient music tuned to healing vibrations, the act of bathing transforms into a sacred dialogue between you and your inner state. It says, "I'm willing to be softened. I'm ready to release what I don't need." And then there are stones. Not for decoration, but as anchors. Citron is bright and alive. It carries the energy of prosperity, of believing in your own power to create wealth in every sense of the word. Sunstone, warm and radiant, strengthens the solar plexus and encourages boldness. Lapis lazuli, deep and wise, is like a mirror to the soul, supporting honest insight and inner truth. Holding one in your palm during meditation or simply placing it on your desk reminds your system, stay clear, stay strong, stay connected. None of this requires hours of effort. In fact, the most effective shift begins with something small, a 5-minute meditation, one loving sentence said to your reflection, or stepping outside to feel your feet on grass. These acts, though simple, carry weight. There's a quiet teaching that says, every step, no matter how small, is still forward. When you act with intention, no action is ever wasted. What matters most is presence. The kind of presence that doesn't demand instant results but knows that energy builds, slowly but surely. You don't need to force anything. You only need to participate. To choose stillness when things feel loud. To speak gently to yourself when fear gets noisy. To light a candle, breathe deeply, or wear the color that makes you feel most like yourself, and in doing so, remind the universe that you're not just waiting for miracles. You're creating the space for them to arrive. When change knocks, it rarely does so politely. It comes with tension, uncertainty, and sometimes a quiet tremor in the heart that says, everything's about to shift. And in that exact moment, you have a choice. Not a choice between what happens or doesn't happen, because life will keep moving either way, but a choice in how you meet what's coming. With fear, or with trust. This is the threshold Leo finds itself on now. And this part of the journey asks you not for perfection, but for presence. The cards that have emerged at this stage are not gentle, they are direct. They are mirrors. They are catalysts. The magician stands first, not as a figure of illusion, but of realization. You already have every tool you need. Not in some hypothetical future, now. The voice, the heart, the ability to focus, the capacity to create, they're not missing, only waiting to be activated. The truth is, many of us delay our next chapter not because we lack ability, but because we fear what happens when we stop hiding behind the old one. But the magician reminds you, nothing changes until you use what you already carry. Next comes the chariot, a reminder that movement is not the same as momentum. You can be busy and still stuck. The chariot asks, are you moving from fear or from intention? Are you driving your life forward, or are you gripping the wheel while staring in the rearview mirror? The energy here says it's time to direct your will. Not to control outcomes, but to choose your trajectory. With discipline, with clarity, and most of all, with commitment to your deeper why. Then we have the star, perhaps the most quiet but most profound of the four. It doesn't shout. It doesn't force. It simply stands as a symbol of restoration. Of hope that remains even when everything else has fallen away. This card appears when the dust begins to settle and we ask ourselves, can I still believe? And not just in something outside of me, but in myself. In the unseen. In the process. And this is where trust, not as blind faith, but as grounded wisdom, becomes a guiding light. The same way the lotus rises from the mud, you are being asked to hold on to the vision of something brighter, not as fantasy, but as a birthright. Finally, the Empress arrives, not to remind you that you are creative, but that you are creation. She is the fertile ground, the embodiment of what happens when you stop pushing and start allowing. This isn't passive surrender. It's intuitive power. It's the ability to cultivate, to nurture, and to bloom, on your terms. You're not just here to survive this chapter. You're here to author the next one. So what do you do with all this energy? Start small. Ask yourself honestly, if I wasn't afraid, what would I do today? Write it down. Then take one step, even if it's as simple as speaking that truth out loud. One gentle action aligned with truth can shift an entire direction. Try creating a personal playlist, music that reminds you who you are at your most vibrant, your most courageous, your most unstoppable. Let that sound become the rhythm you walk in for the rest of this season. There's a simple teaching that says, what you don't transform, you transmit. Which means that every fear you don't face, you end up living through in cycles. But every truth you embrace, no matter how fragile, becomes a light. And the moment you choose truth over fear, again and again, is the moment you stop being the one who waits for change, and start becoming the one who embodies it. If you're still here with me now, Leo, then some part of you already knows. This message wasn't random. This wasn't just another horoscope. This was a mirror. A map. A moment of remembering. And the fact that you're still watching means your soul is no longer willing to stay where it's been. Something inside you, the part that knows it was born to shine, not shrink, has heard the call. And that call doesn't ask for perfection, it asks for presence. It doesn't demand that you have it all figured out. It just asks that you show up, again and again, for the person you're becoming. The cosmic portal we've been speaking of, the rare energetic opening that only happens every 12 years, it didn't arrive to break you. It came to break open what's been locked away inside of you, your courage, your radiance, your ability to create a life that doesn't just look good, but feels aligned. And here's the truth, you don't need anyone else to confirm that you're ready. You don't need permission. You are the permission. You are the sign you've been waiting for. You were never meant to spend your life doubting your own light. And if parts of your world are shaking right now, if old paths are fading or relationships are changing, don't resist it. Let it refine you. Let it show you what's real and what was only ever temporary scaffolding. Sometimes the breaking is what allows the light to finally get through. And sometimes, it's not even breaking, it's simply the end of pretending. So here's what I want you to reflect on now, with honesty and tenderness. What would shift if you chose trust over fear, even just for today? What might open if you stopped waiting for a safer moment and started living as if now was the right time? What would your life begin to look like if you walked forward as if your light was never too much, but exactly what the world needed? Write it down. Breathe it in. Speak it out loud. Let the words become your ritual. I am Leo. I choose light over fear. And if that feels true for you, I invite you to leave that very sentence in the comments below. Not just for me to read, but as a declaration to yourself, to this moment, and to the energy that brought you here. And if this message stirred something in you, even just a little, let your heart respond. Give this video a like if you felt even one truth ring inside you today. Share it with someone you love if you feel they, too, are standing at a threshold. And subscribe to Eternal Mindfulness if you want to walk this path with guidance, grace, and gentle reminders that your light is never alone. Because no matter how loud the world gets, no matter how uncertain the road may seem, you were never meant to dim. You were born to lead with warmth, to speak with boldness, to rise with clarity. And when the fire comes, it is not yours to fear. It is yours to become. The next chapter is waiting, not for someone stronger, or braver, or more ready, but for you. And it begins now.